right, welcome back to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. I am Jason Green. It's Wednesday. Can you believe it? It's Wednesday again. How does that happen so fast? It seems like just yesterday was Wednesday. Anyway, we are going to have ourselves a TV party tonight. Wednesday 13 is here, and we are going to discuss the all-time greatest TV shows. Now, I wanted to do this with I wanted to be organized and have visuals but that would make too much sense. And I'm waiting for my executive producer to graduate from law school, and then the content is going to just be through the roof. But yeah, Wednesday and I are going to talk about the television shows that we grew up on. We're going to talk about some of our favorite sitcoms. Talk about some of our favorite uh, uh, 1 hour dramas. Most of this stuff is probably going to be from the 70s and 80s. I don't know. Wednesday and I did not compare notes. We'll talk about some other things too, and maybe even some of your questions and comments if they're not too stupid. And as they say, all this and more right after this.
Just wanna waste some time with you. Sometimes it seems too good to be true. Nobody out there can waste time with you.
Enjoying doing these live shows while I can, gearing up to go back on the road pretty soon, starting in April. But I'm up to keep it going as much as I can, and the numbers have been where I want them to be. We're now 17,500 subscribers. Thank you. If you haven't subscribed, now's your chance. And well over 3 million views. So it'd be exciting to get to 20,000 subscribers. And I enjoy the daily content. I'd like to figure a way to make sure that each day is different. I think we've done that. One day we've had Johnny Monaco. One day we have Matt Thorne. One day we had Wednesday. One day we had Sean Clark. And so I think there's some variety. This might even be a variety hour. In fact, let's bring in Wednesday 13 right now. All right, Wednesday.
Hello, hello. How's it going? Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Yeah, happy Wednesday. Good to see you. And let's just take a look at some of the comments. Wednesday, I like your crowd. You guys have your crowd is pretty mellow, and most of them they like the horror movies, they like the rock and roll music,
We keep
and
it we keep it real. We keep it real. We don't talk about anything that's you know that's life threatening or life changing. We just talk about the good old days. And some of these
yeah,
fans are so young they don't even know about the good old days. They like to hear about the good old days from me.
there's yeah, that's what I like. I'm excited. I'm trying to show some people's comments who are saying hello to you. There's a lot, but we'll get to as many as we can. Um, yeah, there's an episode of The Office
Mhm.
where Dwight Schrute, Rainn Wilson, he says something. I'm paraphrasing that you don't realize you're living in the good old days until they're over. You know, and that is kind of the truth. So when there was times when we were both alive where we probably thought, ah, this sucks. Now, boy, would we like to turn the TV on and watch what we watched then, or
Yeah.
eat what we ate. Um, so I'm just getting a few more people's comments, and it's nice to see everyone trickling in. And to do this every day, Monday through Friday, um, I'm thankful that so many people watch because I could see it getting tired. Is that my alarm already? Hold on. All right,
Uh-oh.
Wednesday, you host for just a minute, and
All right.
say hello, folks.
Me and my cat gonna take over.
Yeah, I'll be right.
All right. Scream, how was your dinner? This is the microphone. I just fed my cat, and now she wants to hang out. If you can't hear her, she is purring. Um, Also realized that this week, 10 years ago, is when I rescued this little black child. So this is her anniversary week, and we became best friends. Um, if I wasn't even in this room, she'd still be wanting to sit in this chair. I'm sort of like in her spot, so bear with me. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I try to pretend like it's a day I put together every week, like it's my doing. Like there wouldn't be a Wednesday if it wasn't for me. Oh, you
Yes,
survived. You made it.
yes, I'm back. I try not to. Sometimes when you do these shows, as often as I do, you don't want to
Hmm.
talk about the same subjects. And sometimes people say Eddie Trunk, all he does is talk about Ace, how he signed Ace Frehley or something like that, and tells the
Yeah,
same stories. And I think we're all guilty of that. Listen, this is a lot of content, but I never like to keep saying, by the way, I'm a diabetic. But when I
right.
disappear like that, my phone has an alarm that alerts me whether I go too low or whether I go too high. It's a great thing, and it's been great for my A1C and all that. But sometimes I have to turn the alerts off, and so that's what happens because I use my
You kind
phone.
of sound like Ultraman blinking
It's
when you
very
do that. That's
Mhm.
very cool. You're just like, you got to play into something so you can sort of imagine you're Ultraman.
Yes. It's yeah. At least I get some entertainment out
Yeah.
of it. Okay. Wow. There's so many people saying hello. What I love is that everybody that's watching is comes from different backgrounds and they discovered the show differently. Some people discovered it because you're on. Some people
Hmm.
discovered who knows why. Before we get so much into TV, there's a major rock news story today
Yeah, there
uh,
is.
that I'm sure we're talking about the same uh, story. I'll be out with this band in a few weeks, 2 shows, and we'll be seeing the new singer for this band. That's the story you're thinking too, right?
Yeah, yeah. Just that's the big rock story today.
Yeah, it's a little sad, in my opinion. Uh, for those of you who haven't been following your rock news, Skid Row has parted ways with their singer Eric. I think his name is Gronwall.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter now; you'll never hear of him again. But see,
Yeah.
he's going to be out to pasture. Uh, so how many singers has Skid Row had, right? Well, there was someone before Sebastian Bach.
Just
Then there
one.
was Sebastian Bach, who is the only singer for Skid Row, I believe. Then there was a guy named Johnny Solinger, who
Hmm.
I didn't think, may he rest in peace, by the way. He passed away. He was also a very nice man, but I didn't think he was the best fit. Sebastian Bach are big boots to fill, as they say. Uh,
Yeah.
After Johnny is where it gets a little tricky for me, but at one point, Tony Harnell came in.
Yeah. He was number 4.
He was not good either, in most people's opinion, and he was very angry. In fact, he refused to come on this show if I was to even mention Skid Row. That's how mad he
Yeah.
was. And so, oh well, he's not here. 7 people are disappointed that they're not going to see that interview. And then after him, there was a guy named Z.P. Fart.
Not a good name.
No, I don't even know if I'm saying it right.
Instantly, I want to make fun of it, but like
Yeah.
it's like in a hallway in a school kind of way.
Mhm.
You know,
Maybe it's like ZP Tharat. I don't know.
possibly,
He
possibly.
should have changed it. He should have changed it. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, like he should have been like ZP Amadeus, something.
Something.
Hmm. So, and then after he didn't work out, we got Eric Gronwall, I believe.
Who was the best sounding of them all next to Sebastian?
I agree. I think Eric was the best sounding and the most where you felt like it. He joined on short notice. I think they discovered him on one of those cruises, and
Yeah.
very fast they made a decision to add him to the band.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, I saw it one time. There was one of these package things. I went to see some friends. I thought he was good. Was it different to have a young guy with short hair and a different kind of move, thing fronting Skid Row. Yeah, I thought it was different. Had you seen it Wednesday?
No, I actually, of all those lineups, I saw the Tony Harnell uh, lineup with Skid Row, and it
Mhm.
was pretty hard to watch. I saw Skid Row with Solinger. I never saw Skid Row with Sebastian back in the day. I
Wow.
missed it. Even though that was my favorite, Skid Row at one point was my favorite band. Like, and Sebastian was somebody I idolized when I became a vocalist. I wanted to sound like him, and so yeah, so it's crazy to hear. Like when I heard that he was, that they were parting ways. I knew the guy had some health stuff, and
You
it was
did.
hard for them to tour and do more than a couple shows in a row without taking a break. Some people don't realize how difficult that is. I mean, a day off is you're still paying for it. So um, it's just unfortunate because now they're in that situation where I was counting how many singers. What was that? 6, 7 singers they've had now.
Well,
So
and
it's
and before we reveal who the singer is,
yeah,
because some people in chat, yes, what you're implying is, yeah, it shows the stability problem. If I'm Sebastian Bach, I'm sitting at home right now going, dude, maybe they're the problem. I mean, there's a chance that he's laughing
yeah.
right now
It's
and
finally
saying,
he finally gets a day where he can sit back and kind of smile a little bit, and he's not wrong this time. And not that he was ever wrong before. He's kind of like, now it's like, because at this point, where do you go from here without looking like a band that's had seven vocalists? And I'm Team Skid Row. Like, their drummer Rob was in my band for a short period. Before I did the last Murder Dolls record, I had a project called Gunfire 76, and he was the drummer in that. And he would have been the drummer for Wednesday 13 had he not taken the Skid Row gig.
"Mm,
So I'm still close with him, and I just saw him on our last tour and was telling him how excited I was for him that Skid Row finally found a guy that can handle the vocal duties, and they felt like they were on their way, and here we are now discussing what their future is or isn't now.
yes. Well, I can't choose a team because I'll run into Sebastian and he'll unfriend me from Facebook. Well, he already did that, but
Right, right.
he, I, I have a hard time accepting Skid Row without Sebastian Bach. Do I think Sebastian Bach could be difficult? He would be mad at me to say this, but I do. Uh, but I think he was also difficult when he was younger. He hasn't been in Skid Row in I don't know how many years, 25 years plus, something like that, more.
Right.
And so I think, and I'll be honest with you, I think I can tell this story. I was at Sebastian's house in California a few years back, pre-pandemic and things. And we were talking about Skid Row, and those guys were texting with each other. The band, meaning the
Mhm.
original members, Rachel, Scotty, and Snake, and Sebastian, and they were considering getting back together. It was real. I mean, people were rumoring it, but it was real, and they were close to it. And Skid Row was going to play a show where they were doing like one of these '80s things where they were opening for somebody like maybe Paula Abdul or Salt and Pepper or something.
Oh wow.
Sebastian
Okay.
thought it was bad for the Skid Row brand that they do that. Now, remember, he wasn't back in the band. And they had some disagreements through text. I believe Sebastian has told this publicly, so
Hmm.
I don't think I'm giving away anything. Maybe some of you haven't heard it, but um, and I said to Sebastian, maybe you guys need to have someone else negotiate for you. I wasn't necessarily inviting myself, but Sebastian, maybe you shouldn't deal with them. Maybe you should have a manager or an assistant. You should fly separate. You should have a separate dressing room and see those guys when you're on stage. And Sebastian, who was very old school, he didn't like that idea. He feels like you should be a band. Dude, we're a band. That's how he is. He's very
Right.
passionate about that whole thing. And so therefore, uh, he spoke his mind of what he thought, and they were angry and said, you know what, he's not even back. that's it. We're not dealing with it. They've done
Right.
countless interviews where they said they'll never take him back. The money would go up, 10 times,
Yeah.
with him. They would play bigger venues, and they would be big because they're one of the few bands who haven't got back together. I know a lot of people are critical of Sebastian Bach. He can still sing. No one's going to sing like they did when they were 20, but
No.
and he is a personality. It was interesting that you and I are very close in age. I told
Mhm.
Sebastian when I saw him last at one of these things that because of my age, I kind of grew up on Skid Row. I grew up on Sebastian Bach, like yourself. I thought he
Mhm.
was badass. We were both the right age for the Youth Gone Wild.
There was no better frontman at that point
Mhm.
in the game than him. He was every girl like Ric Flair. Every girl wanted him, and every guy wanted to be him. It was
Yeah.
just, and he had the voice. It wasn't just a look thing. He looked the part, and Skid Row just had that little bit of toughness to them that made them kind of what Guns N' Roses had. They weren't.
Yeah.
They fit in that hair metal genre, but they were just a little bit to the right of it. They were a little dirty, a little sleazier and heavier. And well, on that second record, if the first record's great, and they had the buzz, but that second album they came out swinging, and they knew they had something special there too.
And Sebastian Bach was a little dangerous. You know, yeah, he
Absolutely.
did some crazy things, but at that point, that's how your band went from being a gold band to a platinum band to a double platinum band. First, let me just thank Jimbo.
Yeah.
Jimbo, I appreciate that watching from New Zealand, and thank you so much. It is appreciated, and I want to make sure I didn't miss. Well, Mark Sanchez is giving away the person. So Mark, you'll have to. I'll show you a super chat. Thank you in a minute, but I don't want to give away the person for those who don't know. So anyway, I told Sebastian that he was thankful, but to
Right.
be a teenager at that point, Sebastian Bach was pretty badass, and
Yeah. I mean, to it's again, it's not from you and I to decide or what they do from this point on, but they're kind of at a crossroads now where they get another unknown singer or another somewhat semi-known singer to come in for the band. Where's it going to go from here? Like, is it going to be on the same level where Eric was with them? Or are they going to move above? Or like, I don't know. It's like at this point now, they've said so many times they would never take Sebastian back. He's never said, I mean, he's argued about those guys a million times, but it's always been the fact that he wants the band to get back together. You know, I don't know. I feel like at this point they could try it. What's the worst it could do? You know, I mean, Motley Crue goes on tour, and those guys didn't like each other for a long time. They may like each other now. They probably learned to like each other, but
I bet they don't like each other now.
they probably don't. But there was at one point they definitely didn't, and
Yeah.
they were able to tour. There's a lot of bands that do that. I don't know that Skid Row would be so big that they could each get their own bus, but it could be done. And
I think it's listen, I'm dealing with a band that's very dysfunctional. And the
Mhm.
idea of bands having members having separate buses and things is something that has been discussed and probably would be discussed more down the road. So I think uh, what you're what you're saying is true. I talked to Paul Taylor of Winger. He wrote a song with Skid Row called "The Gang's All Here," and I said,
Mhm.
you sure the song's not called "The Gang's All Here" except Sebastian Bach?" It sure, it sure felt that way.
Right.
Um, so, by the way, for the people who think I could do it, I do think I could do it. I've worked with some really difficult people. I reunited Phil Lewis and Tracy Guns. We did a charity Toys for Tots benefit. Those guys hadn't spoke. I kept it secret, and I got LA Guns for better or for worse back together, and it was great. And they got along, and there we go. I got Chris Holmes and Randy Piper together, who also were not getting along at the time. Brent Muscat and Tammy Down. These are people who sued each other or had issues. I got them back together. So I've been known to deal with difficult people. Now, I think they probably need somebody who's completely outside to do it. They would, don't view it as Team Sebastian. I really only know Scotty Hill, and I believe
Right.
Scotty will come on the show. He's said he would many times, but we never find the right moment. Stephen Piercy will be playing. Stephen Piercy is taking over a couple shows for Buck Cherry. Buck Cherry had to cancel,
Hmm.
and so Stephen agreed to do these shows because they're close to us here on the West Coast. One is the Sacramento area, and one is Sparks, Nevada. I guess it's up north. I don't know. Uh, but anyway, so I'll see those guys, and we'll see. I've talked to Rob Affuso, the wild card in this, as well, and he always says he's going to come on, but we don't know. A
Yeah.
reunion would do good. They do have the money. Russ, as much as I want to agree with you that money talks, Rachel Bolan has proven that money doesn't, in fact, talk. He's
Yeah.
passed so many times. They've passed on big offers. They could have opened for Guns N' Roses, no question. There's a lot of big things they could have done. So it makes you wonder how much they really hate Sebastian
Yeah.
Bach.
I mean, it's kind of like I heard Paul Stanley say to somebody or online or whatever, the famous Paul Stanley quotes. There's a million famous Paul Stanley quotes, but someone was like, why not get Peter and Peter and Ace back, one of the many times. And he was like, and like he was real quick response, and he was like, "Do you want to get back with your ex-wife?" And they were like, "What? What do you?" So that's always been his, and I understand that kind of thing. Like if someone went, "Hey, do you want to get back with your ex-wife?" I'm like, "Hell no, I don't want to get." But you
You want
know,
to be back with your ex-wife? Yeah.
yeah. So at this point, I don't really know. And I don't know the guys in Skid Row. I'm just speaking from a fan, and uh, and I've watched all the interviews. I've seen Sebastian talk. I've seen those guys talk. I don't know that they've ever said enough bad stuff about each other that was not Eric. They couldn't put aside that they
I
couldn't
agree.
work this out. So, but look at all the other bands, and Kiss,
Yeah.
they said they would never do it again, and they did it.
They're like pro wrestlers. They have no integrity as far as their word goes. They can sue each other. Another band that I know comes to mind who sue each other and hate each other, and then maybe you'll see them back together at some point. I couldn't say what that band is, but they might have a rodent problem. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that they could work it out. Listen, Axl Rose called Slash a cancer, and he didn't mean the sign, the
Yeah.
astronomy, or he
I
meant,
mean, yeah, I think the fans would like to see that, but I don't know where they go from this point. What they've got Lizzie Hell from Hellstorm filling in for these shows, which I'm sure she'll do great, and it'll probably be a cool thing. But it's not, if it's Skid Row with a female fronted thing.
yeah. Next, they're going to
Uh,
want to vote. These chicks. You know what I mean?
so it's almost like either this. If you had to like make a decision today, it's either Sebastian, or you're going to have to go with someone where it's Skid Row featuring Miles Kennedy and something like that. It's going to have to be somebody that's got the chops, that's that kind of level. And I don't even know who Miles Kennedy. When I started hearing who he was, I was like, who was featuring who? Who's this guy?
I
The
felt the
guy
same.
from Rockstar?
There's a guy in Slash's band featuring Miles Kennedy, featuring the Conspirators, featuring whoever. In that band, the bass player is the best
Hmm.
singer in the entire band, and his name is Todd Kearns. And I managed him for a long time. He could
Hmm.
be the front man for Skid Row. He could sing. He could hit those notes. He's tall. He's Canadian. He usually plays guitar, so it's a little different to see him fronting.
Yeah,
He's
I
better
just
than
saw a
any
big.
of those
Yeah.
people that Skid Row has had. He's a nice guy for the most part as well. But yeah, but I don't know what to. I think anytime you go with someone, Todd would be considered sort of an unknown in that world, at least. I think you take a risk. So every time you go to another singer, people go, "This is a bit of a joke now." Okay, what's next? Now, Skid Row is probably taking advantage of the state fair lifestyle that a lot of bands do. The people at the state fair don't know what they're seeing. Sign says Skid Row, they go see Skid Row. Sign says Rat, they see Rat. They're not on Metal Sludge every day or on those type of things. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get to as many people comments. Anyway, there's not many guys who can do it. So and by adding Lizzie Hale, you've just done sort of. And listen, I before I go too far, I'm sure Lizzie Hale would be great, and I know she's a great singer and all those things, and a powerful and attractive woman. But with that said, it reminds me of when LA Guns or Tracy's LA Guns got Delana. Do you remember that?
I do remember that now.
I
Oh,
think that Lizzie Hale's a lot better, but
yeah, but yeah, I think this
how
is
could
just a
you have?
temporary thing. I don't think that they're looking at any type of future thing. I don't think she would give up doing Hellstorm to do that. I don't think Skid Row would want that, but I think this is a temporary thing to fill out their shows. But I don't know what their next move is. I'll be curious to see. But at this point, when you've lost that front guy, your comeback, your resurgence, I don't know. I feel like you'd have to go with, like I said, a known person, or you got to go back with Sebastian, or you just don't do it anymore. You just leave
Are
it
you
alone.
available? Are you available to do it?
Yeah, I could probably handle doing some of the Skid Row songs. I'm in that key. I definitely could handle the heavier Mud Kicker, Slave to the Grind songs, but I don't know how good I would be. I'd freeze up on trying to sing "I Remember You" or something like that. But I don't know. I would give it a shot, but I don't think I need to be the person for that job. Who knows? I mean, again, I'm not. I it's up to them, what they want to do. But they're definitely, I would say, in a pickle now.
Yeah, Steve Sex Summers did put his hat, his hat
Oh man,
in the ring today. He did offer, if they're not going to go back with Sebastian Bach, that he was ready to bring the Leather Boys with Electric Toys to a Skid Row. So what happens with these bands is you milk it as much as you can until no one's coming anymore, and when they don't come to the show, that sounded very X-rated what I just said, but
milking.
yeah,
Yes.
and coming, but they don't come to if they stop coming to the shows and the guarantee goes down, then all of a sudden you go, well, maybe it's time to call Sebastian. Now, Rachel wrote the songs. He's probably got some nice money, and they've all said the money is not worth the aggravation that they believe Sebastian Bach would give them. I don't know. I think, how many more years do we have alive? Sebastian Bach says this all the time. How much longer do we have? Let's do it.
I
Let's
know.
let
I
it
was
go.
thinking today, I'm like, in 10 years, I'll be 48 this year. 10 years, I'm gonna be 58. What? It's so, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I think they could figure it out and they could give it a shot. And if it didn't work, then
They would get so much attention giving it a shot that even if they went back to the Bozo of the Week club, they would be okay. What I think they're going to do is announce another person you've never heard of, and probably another person who won't last. Listen, Eric has or had leukemia. He's got a lot of health issues. They probably
yeah,
should have thought about that before getting him to tour. If you read through his statement, maybe there's more to it than just that. He didn't know that he was going to be on tour. There
yeah.
was some misunderstanding between them. I understand he has to take care of his health. Maybe if I'm Sebastian Bach, I go, dude, maybe those guys were a pain in the ass. Like maybe he's going to blame them. Even Eric Gronwall couldn't put up. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I would be interested to see what Sebastian says. At this point in Sebastian's life, I think he just has himself a good laugh today. Lizzie Hale, talented. Are people going to accept a young woman in Skid Row? I don't know.
Bro.
Delana
Yeah.
singing LA Gun songs. A pocket full of
I totally
lotion.
forgot about that. Wow,
Sex
that was
action.
wasn't Tracy in love with her for 5 seconds, and she was like the singer of the band, and then they have like a romance or something.
I don't know if
So
he did, but he's always into something ridiculous, and
just think, if Phil Lewis wasn't around, Orianthi could be the lead singer of LA Guns
I
for
think,
right
yeah,
now.
you can thank me for that not working. Dr. Paul Shortino says they got Eric and they worked him like he was a Filipino tribute band singer, no days off. So yeah, it could be that could be too. So anyway, that's the news. Lizzie Hale of Hailstorm. A lot of people watching don't even know what a hailstorm is. A hailstorm is something that hits the outside of your house when it gets really cold and
Yes.
moist in the air. Uh,
Um, yeah,
anyway,
I
I
think
don't know
it's
what's going to
I
happen.
think it's a temporary thing for them, and they'll figure out what they do. Like I said, I'm for either one of them. I don't mean to say I was not team Sebastian. I don't know Sebastian, and I don't know Rachel. But as a fan, you know, they know what how much fans would just lose their mind, and they'd forget everything those guys ever said about each other in the past. You know what I mean? Like, it's, again, I can't think of how many bands that are on tour now that hated each other. I mean, from everyone from Aerosmith to Guns N' Roses to Motley Crue to Poison to all of those bands. They've all worked on dysfunction. So join the party. Make a little extra money.
So,
If the extra money you make can pay for that pain and suffering.
yeah, so you're going to do the Murder Dolls reunion, right?
But yeah.
Mhm. Probably not enough.
That's a different, man. That's a different story.
Probably not enough money. And we should also remember that Joey George is in his past. And I've always
Yes.
said that you've taken the high road, that you let the music of that music survive. But maybe it's time to leave the brand alone. By the way, I kind of dive more into your career as I know you.
Mhm.
Our friendship is based more on talking about TV and things, which we will do in just a minute. But as I
Yes.
look at your career, I think sometimes that there's only two Dolls albums. It's sort of Sex Pistols esque. It's almost better that that band be laid to rest and be sort of legendary. That these young people watching are discovering it and loving it. I can't believe you would think it's brand new. That people who are between the ages of 10 and 18 or whatever kids
Mhm.
love your music. The themes in your music, just as in themes in horror movies, I think don't get old. As Dracula didn't get old
Yeah,
either.
it
I
was
think.
it was crazy because when that first album came out, or even like my first album, which will be 20 years old next year, like, this is pre-Walking Dead. So all those, like, I was just like, oh man, I'm the horror guy. If everything was mainstream horror, I would fit right in. And now everything is mainstream horror, and people still have no idea who I am. So yeah, it's I've just kind of always done that, and I've stuck to what I know. And I was doing some interview the other day, talking about the upcoming UK tour, and someone was like, yeah, when Murder Dolls first came out, during that time, it was right when new metal was kind of going out. That emo thing was right around the corner. It was a weird time, and we didn't really fit, but that's, I guess, was kind of what made it work. But then you look at it 22 years later or whatever, and it still doesn't fit. It wouldn't fit today either. It would
Mhm.
still be just as odd, I think. So maybe that's the good thing about it. It didn't have a. It still sounds as weird and as it did back then. So it's not dated on it, I guess.
No, people discover it as it's brand new. So we were talking about that, but yeah, you're performing the music. The music goes on, but that band is not something that you're looking to revisit. What do I think Skid Row is going to do? I think they're going to announce another guy you never heard of, and he's going to last a few months, and they're going to say this is the one, and they're going to have egg on their face, and uh, 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 you know, and I'm sure Lizzie Hale will be a fun novelty. I mean, I'm sure someone's going to be disappointed. Somebody is going to go, "That ain't Sebastian Bach." You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, I think she's attractive. speaking of attractive, the young people, they go on these things. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what Pinterest is really. I don't know what Tumblr is. There's another one, not Reddit, but one of
Yeah.
these things. Anyway, Michelle recommended a picture review the other day that she sent me, and
Uh-huh.
that picture was of Wednesday in drag. Um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you made a nice looking young lady.
Which one was it? Because I did this many times. Because my band before Murder Dolls was Frankenstein Drag Queens, and then we did sort of like a reunion thing uh, after Murder Dolls, and we dressed up again. So yeah, there's many pictures of me in many wigs, and I even set out back in the day to create 13 different personalities in those different incarnations. There was
I like
Wednesday
that.
13. There was Audrey 3. If you know your Little Shop of Horrors, I was said Audrey
Mhm.
2. I was Audrey 3. There was Queenie 6. I was giving them all numbers, and I just got bored with it, and no one was catching on with it. Although now I could probably have, with the social media age and pages and stuff, I could have created that. But back then, it was just sort of like people didn't know how to understand what I was doing. So
Mhm.
I've always had these weird thoughts. So, but yeah, there's tons of pictures of me. That's one of my favorite things. If you look at photos of me of the last 20, 30 years, like it's weird. It's just a non-stop cavalcade of imagery. I'm pretty
Well,
proud of it.
yeah, you should be for sure. North Carolina is a notoriously Southern conservative, religious, in a lot of ways, military
Mhm.
state. A lot of people are stationed there, and so I can't imagine there's a lot of drag queens performing.
No, and back then, like the whole thing that kick throttled that whole name, and it wasn't drag queen done in this RuPaul kind of way at all. This was completely influenced by. I had just discovered Ed Wood through the Johnny Depp Tim Burton movie,
Love it.
and that opened up a whole can of worms. And I read the Ed Wood book, and there was also, I'm sure you've heard of Jane County or Wayne County and the
Yeah,
electric chairs.
legendary.
So Jane County was a huge influence on Frankenstein drag queens. If you listen to some of the riffage in that, it's very Jane County influenced on with that. So it just came, yeah, and Jane County, people that don't know who that was, Jane County was, if I'm correct, was from the late 70s. Was it New York? Was it a
New York. Yeah.
New York band? And then Jane became Wayne later on, and it became Wayne County.
Mhm.
But that was like the first sort of transgender rock and roll punk rock underground thing I'd ever heard about. I
Wayne
actually saw
County.
Jane.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
had a big fight with Dick Manitoba. That's a legendary story of the dictators, and there was
Okay.
some
Yeah.
bones and things.
I don't know that whole story. I did hear a little bit about it, but yeah, but basically that's where that whole influence came from. So, and then I thought, what better place than to cause a scene than to look like a bunch of Twisted Sister looking drag queens playing these little redneck bars in North Carolina and get a reaction. And that's literally all we got was a reaction most of the time. It was like nobody ever like, oh, your band's cool. We had to get a reaction and cause and we would go in and start fights with people, like, and they couldn't believe what we I think back and watch videos, and I'm really lucky I didn't get beat up more than I did or get stuff thrown at me more than I did, because we would just go in and be like, put our guitars in, grab the mic, and be like, hello, we're the Frankenstein drag queens, uh and we would just say if you're drinking beer, you're gay, and we'd start into the song. People are like, did he just say that? Yeah, and he's wearing a dress. So we were just anything to push the buttons on people, and we did it. And I survived it.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Paul says, I'm here for the Sanford and Son talk. Ask and you shall receive. A lot of you are here to hear Wednesday and I talk about classic television. I'm going to start because Sanford and Son, as you can see, I am representing uh,
Hmm.
one of my all-time favorite shows. I'll be honest with you, I live a few blocks away from Red Fox's final home. I have a video on this channel where I show you his home. I go to the backyard. I go to his store. He opened a store to try to pay the IRS. It's now a check cashing place, but he had a junkyard where he sold Red Fox memorabilia, and Bubba and Aunt Esther would all show up and appear at his junk sale, and it's crazy. And then his final resting place is also just a couple miles. It's all on Eastern here in Las Vegas, and so if you can watch that video. But the show Sanford and Son changed my life, and I want to say to people who are watching, Wednesday, you and I talked a little before we started.
Mhm.
We discovered TV because there weren't that many channels. That's one thing. There weren't that
Mhm.
many channels. Most people had a 2 through 13 on their dial. Where I grew up, 2 was CBS, 4 was NBC, and 7 was ABC. That's how I had it. Was
Okay.
yours similar?
No. ABC was channel 9, CBS was 3, uh, NBC was 12 or 36 on the UHF. You
Mhm.
had to do the little toggle thing on that. And then we got the cable box later on, and then I think it was like 3 was, yeah, sort of the same numbers I think on the buttons there too.
Yeah, it's funny how we remember that, whereas younger people have never experienced that, or probably won't even experience a cable box as the future goes on. They'll know Roku or
Yeah.
whatever. But we didn't
Yeah.
have as many options. My parents, my father liked to watch sitcoms like some of the ones we're going to talk about. I want to name them all now. And then I would sort of watch in the background. Some of them I understood, and some I didn't. Some shows I went back years later, and this will come up in our conversation, that as an adult, I look back and said, "Oh, that's what that meant," or "That's what that was about,"
Yeah.
or had a new appreciation. Some shows I still don't like MASH, that other people worship. We'll talk about those too. But
Yeah.
so we discovered our television sort of that organic way, grew up with them. The shows were important to us. Syndication was also just beginning while we were young. Happy Days was a really funny show. Happy Days was on ABC. It might have moved networks at one point, but while it was on, it went into syndication at the same time, and they had another name for it, and I believe it was called Happy Days Again or Happy Days. There's a
I think,
word added to Happy Days.
yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
And they would show the syndicated episodes on a channel in New York. It was called WPIX, but on these other channels. And so it was weird to have first run and syndication at the same time. We didn't realize, Wednesday, that we were watching history, that some of the television shows we were watching, we watched first run. We sat down at 8 o'clock in front of our TV and watched the TV show that will be talked about now, um, forever. Sanford and Son, late 70s, or mid to late 70s, runs into syndication, obviously, in the 80s. They were spin offs of the show.
Hmm.
The humor, for me, I knew then how crazy it was. You talk about stuff that they say, you couldn't do that now. Well, no, there's no way you could do that now. And for young people who don't know, it was based off of an English show called Steptoe and Son. But Sanford and Son was about a father and son junkyard business that was in Watts, California, which is Compton, basically, and the struggles that they deal with. And it was funny. It was always funny. The worst episode is still funny, offensive, ahead of its time. The theme song, which I think is called Street Beater, I think that's the name. That's a Quincy Jones song. Did you know that?
I am super impressed with all of your knowledge of this. You just keep going, keep going. I did not know any of this.
I hope you're prepared when we get to your show.
Oh, I don't even take it. Keep going, keep going.
You have the credits with
You know
you.
too much.
You have the credits with you, but yes, Quincy Jones, who produced Thriller among other amazing albums, that's
Hmm.
his song, Street Beater. So I want to go see the actual Sanford and Son junkyard. It's completely done over. It's not in Compton. It's almost unrecognizable. You can see where the truck pulled in the credits. I was fortunate to meet many of those cast members, and many are not with us anymore. But I've told this story on the show, but I'll tell it one more time because I think you get a kick out of it. TV Land was doing an event in New York City at the Museum of Television and Radio. And TV Land was sort of new at the time. And we went to this event, and in the audience, they said, who here can play Sanford and Son trivia? And all my friends pointed to me. And I like everyone kind of stepped back and I stepped forward. And I went, well, okay. So I went down. It was me and 3 other people, and we each got a buzzer. It was a horn of sorts. And then they said, we have a surprise. Who's going to play against you? I went, oh, no, because I knew who was there and I was prepared for what it was. And they played the Sanford and Son theme, and then Lamont walked out. And now I have to play. Yeah, I have to play trivia against Lamont. And so I figured I'm not going to know any of this. These other people know more than I never think I know that much until I meet other people who go, what? So I was doing great. I was in the lead. I think Lamont was in second place. His name is Damon Wilson. He's a reverend. And the last question was something along the lines of, on an episode of Sanford and Son, they appeared on a game show. What was the game show? I buzzed in, and I believe I said, let's make a deal. And I think that's what it was. And they said, correct, you win. But Lamont had answered the Gong Show, which might not be wrong because that was also, but I matched, and I got to win the prizes, and who knows what else it is. And when I went backstage afterwards, and Lamont told me, great job or whatever, and it was nice to meet me. And standing there was Randolph Mantooth, the star of Emergency, Conrad Bain, Mr. Drummond, and there was one other one. But so it was very surreal. I felt like I was in a TV land. So anyway,
You were. That's like Obi-Wan Kenobi seeing Conrad Bain there. That's crazy. Mr. Drummond, Mr. D.
Mr. D, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I said I don't know, when I was younger, I was a little more ridiculous. I said to Damon Wilson, the Honorable Reverend, do you mind if I tell you my favorite line from Sanford and Son?
Yeah, I remember you telling me this. This is great.
Yeah, I think I told you. And he goes, yeah, all right, go ahead. And I go, what did your father say is the rule when you're out of town? And I probably used like a bad black accent, but he looked at me and he goes, what? And I go, no orgies. And and he looked at me like I had 20 heads, and he went, ha ha, no orgies. And I felt like I accomplished something.
That's pretty good.
I felt like I accomplished something that day. Grady Wilson said the no orgies line. Anyway, so that is why Sanford and Son meant so much to me. There's never a day that I could watch it and not laugh. I can put it on right now. I've seen every episode. It's always funny. I always catch something. Use of the N-word on television was insane. It was used in a funny way. It wasn't used in a racist way. In fact, in most cases, it would have been Red Fox calling the white inefficient store worker or bartender or something the word. But it was just so funny. And so for young people watching, get your notepads out. Pay attention. Wednesday and I are going to drop some knowledge, as they say. All right, Wednesday, yes. I gave mine. Over to you.
I mean, if you're going to start in the 70s, I guess, I was prepared to even go back into the black and white stuff.
Well, I have those too, so you can. I just kind of started with
something. I have to start. My favorite show is Andy Griffith. It's one of my box sets, which has, don't be confused, that's Gomer Pyle, but that's where he started. So you can see the greatness that led out of this show. It released a Gomer Pyle into the wild. Andy Griffith has been my favorite, one of my favorite shows, and it's also because where I grew up in North Carolina, the area I'm from is somewhat called like Mayberry. Like people go, oh, you're out in the Mayberry area, because that's kind of where it was sort of based around. It's actually based around a place called Mount Airy in North Carolina, and they take the story of saying that Mayberry's named after it, and there's like a little small Cracker Barrels sort of little thing you can visit there, where as a little kind of, I guess, tourist attraction. But just growing up watching that, I watched it growing up with my parents. One of my very first jobs I had delivering furniture, worked with these two old guys, and they constantly watched Andy Griffith and referred to Andy Griffith on a daily basis. So it just sort of became a thing in my life. So, uh, and I've probably watched that show more than any show I can quote it. Don Knotts, he's amazing. His character Barney on that show is outshines Andy Griffith, I think. He's
I agree.
just amazing on that. So, just so many cool characters. And then if you watch shows like Adam's Family and what other stuff I laid out here, Leave It to Beaver. I've watched those shows so much, and I watch them now, and I see all the other people from those shows on the same shows. So, like the other day, I was watching Adam's Family, and I heard somebody talking. I went, that sounds like a guy from Andy Griffith. And I look over, and it's the mayor from Andy Griffith on the Addams Family. So a lot of cast and stuff intertwined in there. But the Andy Griffith cast almost feels real to me. They feel like they're like family to me. I grew up watching it so much.
It's
Andy Griffith was,
interesting.
yeah, he was
It's
always
interesting.
the guy
Yeah.
that could solve the problem without a fight, was Andy Griffith. So he's sort of
Uh,
my mentor on that.
you know who watches Andy Griffith every day?
Who's that?
Stephen Piercy. Stephen Piercy and Christy, his fiance, they love it. I've been to the house; it's always on, and
Mhm.
sometimes we'll do these live shows with Stephen, auctions and things, and he'll be off on the couch watching Andy Griffith as soon as we're done. He loves it. Here in Las Vegas, there's a guy named Ron Mancuso. He played in a band called Beggars and Thieves. His family owns a great Italian restaurant called the Bootlegger Bistro. And when you're here, we'll go there. And it's anyway. His father married one of the women from the Andy Griffith Show, and I'm going to do a terrible job of remembering her name.
Okay.
But she were there some singers at one point?
There was a group of people, these mountain people called the Darlings, and there was
She's
one.
one of them.
So she must be the daughter, Darling. Uh, yeah, which some people don't realize that the Darlings, the dad of that character is Uncle Jesse from Dukes of Hazzard.
Wow.
So he went on to do that as well. But yeah, she's I don't know her first name, but she's the Darling daughter.
She passed recently, but Stephen and Christy really wanted to meet her. Unfortunately, it was during lockdown, and she was an older person, so we didn't get the
Mhm.
chance. She was on some episodes of one of my other favorite shows that I'll mention in a bit. I'm going to pause the TV talk for just 1 second because we got a mutual friend here. Stevie Rochelle is here in the chat.
Oh, Stevie Rochelle. What's up, Stevie?
And Stevie is the person who had the idea to put us to introduce us and have
Mhm.
Wednesday come on the show. I did not have the best knowledge of Wednesday, as you've learned from this. But I knew I was familiar. I dated people who were fans of Wednesday, and I knew the sort of legend. When I started researching Wednesday, I realized that yeah, we did have a lot in common, and I became a fan of his music as well. But Stevie knew it. He said, "One day, you guys are going to be talking about TV shows and movies and playing with monster toys." And he could not have been more right. Stevie probably could be a matchmaker of
Yeah,
sorts. So,
he could do like the dating game, like
yeah,
the yeah.
and so and it was interesting because you were a fan of Tough and those bands, and it's interesting to see because I think a lot of people know your image uh, um, as Wednesday 13. I sort of look at Wednesday 13 as a little bit of a character,
Yeah.
in addition to who you are. So anyway, and I wanted to make sure we mentioned Stevie and Metal Sludge. Stevie, you tuned in late. We did 40 minutes about Skid Row's troubles. You can read about them on Metal Sludge, but we gave our wholehearted opinions. Mark Sanchez is remembering on different strokes when Muhammad Ali threatened the Gooch. I absolutely
Oh,
do. Gooch was a bully.
yeah. Another cool character that you've. I don't think they ever showed the Gooch's face, did they?
No, I
Did
don't think
they?
so.
But
I
but
can't.
but what a cool character you just heard about. Like he went on for seasons. Like, oh, the Gooch. The Gooch was Arnold's bully at school.
Hmm.
And I don't know how many times he threatened Willis had to go to school to face the Gooch or somebody. But yeah, I've been watching Different Strokes again this week, and I'm on season two, and it's interesting. I will say.
Yes, well, and maybe Different Strokes will come up in one of our lists. It's funny, people know Stevie Rochelle from The Decline of the Western Civilization, and I just want to let everyone get their say. And Andy Griffiths is one of those examples of shows that I didn't completely grow up with. Um, it was on sometimes, and I just didn't relate. Maybe because I grew up in Manhattan and I just didn't get it. I looked
Yeah,
at Ron Howard and I knew that that was Opie, but I mean that he was Richie Cunningham in later years. I knew that Barney Fife was going to become Mr. Furley, and those are characters that I knew better. But I was sometimes bored by Andy Griffith. Now people tell me all the time, "You have got to go back and watch," and I need to find more time to do this to watch the great shows that I'm not an Andy Griffith expert. I was fortunate to meet Don Knotts several times at that Hollywood show in Burbank,
oh
and
wow.
he was just so cool and so legendary. And a lot of those characters did it and have all passed. So, but a solid choice. And Wednesday, I'm glad that we have different choices. I thought at some point we may cohabitate, but I like that you watch things that are a little different than I did. I'm going to give my next one, which is staying in the 70s vibe. It would be The Odd Couple, starring Tony Randall and Jack Klugman. Another show that there's never an episode that I wouldn't sit and watch if it was on. They're all funny to me. I've seen them a million times. I have all the box set DVDs, everything. I still love it. If it was on the TV, I'd sit and watch it. Based off of Neil Simon's play and the movie. I don't think the movie holds up to the TV show. Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, it's all
Hmm.
right, but that TV show was ahead of its time. Almost every show that we're going to talk about, or not every one, but a lot of them, the later ones, are going to be made by either Norman Lear or Gary Marshall. To me, those were the real kings of comedy. I wrote in adult movies for a while. That was one of my side hustles, if you will. Ron
Hmm.
Jeremy paid me to write adult movies, and not you need to have an adult movie name. And I used the name from an episode of The Odd Couple. I don't think I've ever told this story on this show, but there is an episode where Felix becomes he is a photographer, FU photography. That joke alone was ahead of its time. Uh, Portrait's a specialty. So Tony Randall, they come deliver a package, and they say we have a package for Mr. Spencer Benedict. And Oscar goes, "Who is that?" And then Felix signs for it. He takes it, and he says that it's him. He goes, "You don't think I'd use my real name for nudies, do you?" And I said, "That is the greatest pseudonym I've ever heard for nudies. If I'm going to write movies with nudies, I'm going to become Spencer Benedict, future AVN Award winner." I never got to tell Gary Marshall that story. I'd met him, and I really wanted to tell him. His theater is in Burbank, not too far. It's right across the street from Bob's Big Boy, the Gary Marshall uh, theater. I was fortunate to see Tony and Jack on Broadway many times. Tony was a lifelong New Yorker. You saw him often. Me and my friends would follow him sometimes. We'd see him walking, and let's see where Tony Randall goes. And you know what? Even at 80, boy, was he fast. One of my favorite memories, I'm on the subway,
Hmm.
and I look over the D train. I was going to Brooklyn, and I look over and I see Tony Randall. And I go, "This is insane." Felix Unger is on the subway. And one of the greatest episodes of The Odd Couple took place on the subway. And I look at him kind of like, and he knew, and he looked at me and he gave me this. And I just kind of nodded and he nodded. And then when it was his stop, he got off and he looked at me and he quietly got off. And I got to experience a subway ride with Felix Unger. The show is still great. The cameos are great. The storylines are great. There is just if you haven't watched The Odd Couple, it's a great thing to start. A lot of these things are on streaming now. Sanford and Son is on Peacock, I believe, and The Odd Couple is on Paramount. If you're a fan of physical media like Sebastian Bach and Wednesday 13, um, do physical media, then you can
You're
buy the
pretty good at
DVD.
that. You got that down.
Yeah, I've heard it a lot. He has different. There's different versions though, and he has a higher one and he has a mellow one. I can hear them in my head. I just haven't worked out how to deliver them. All right, so I've given Sanford and Son and The Odd Couple Wednesday over to you.
And again, when we talked about this earlier today, like trying to pick a top five, I don't know that I can. It's fair, but like because it's really like a top 20, and I was just grabbing DVDs and looking at stuff, and I know I'm just looking at stuff that's in front of me, and I'm forgetting stuff, but I'm trying to think of shows that meant a lot to me and still mean a lot to me, and I grabbed my Land of the Lost box set.
Can't go wrong.
This show is some people only know the movie Land of the Lost that Will Ferrell did, which is entertaining. But there was a TV show from the 90s, Land of the Lost. But this is the one that I remember watching before I went to school. The bad guys or the villains in this, the Sleestaks, were just the weirdest, coolest monsters. They're still like my favorite. And to this day, that show is just, it encompasses all weirdness. Like I remember going to I used to bring this box set on tour and I'd have it constantly playing on our tour bus. And we went through the Canadian border and they searched our bus one time strictly based off the fact that I was playing Land of the Lost. And they said, "We're going to search your bus." And I went, "Why?" And they went, "Well, you're playing that Land of the Lost and that show, and that usually means you guys are on drugs. People are on drugs. They're tripping. They want to watch it." So they tore our bus apart one time because we had Land of the Lost playing. So that did not work in my favor. They didn't find our
Yeah,
drugs though. So good luck. See
yeah,
you.
they did it.
Catch us next time.
How to put Drizzler in timeout with a
Uh
lot of obnoxious spamming, and that's a Wednesday fan. Wednesday,
oh.
some of them your fans are great, but some of them are very young and very spammy.
I
Land,
think Drizzler's name would be better if his name was Sizzler, like the restaurant.
and then you could get all the shrimp you can eat. Uh, So, for those who may not be that familiar with Land of the Lost,
Mhm.
Sid and Marty Krofft, who are definitely heroes to me and to Wednesday, created HR Puffin stuff and the Bugaloos and shows like that that were also a big part of our childhood. But it was the idea that this family gets lost, the Robinson family, I think they're called. I think it's based off of, right?
Mhm.
I
Yep.
think that's what it's based off of. And
Marshall, Will, and Holly
yeah,
are the
and
original.
they do conventions where you can get into a boat with them, like a not a like a raft. You can get
What?
in the raft with Will, I guess, and Holly. Yeah,
Wow. I did not.
we'll do it. They have some coming up. Um,
I have to do this.
Chaka is alive,
Okay.
and he does appearances. And Kathy Coleman, who is Holly, she's alive. Anyway, it was a fun show. I grew up on it. I think we had better imaginations when we were younger. We
Uh-huh.
didn't think, here come the big puppet dinosaurs. We thought, oh my God, there's a dinosaur. This is a funny thing. There's a meme that says, I thought quicksand was going to be a much bigger problem when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually have an Indiana Jones book I used to carry with me, a little small book. And it was basically how to get out of situations with like Indiana Jones, and it had a way how to get out of quicksand. Like I'll send it to you later, but it's pretty much a diagram. We can survive it. I can get you out of this, is what I'm saying.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad that you're
So if you get in a quicksand situation, I got the solution. Hit me up.
I remember. I'm going to. I remember climbing on couches and things in the house, so that in my mind, imagining that the floor was quicksand because I was practicing. I was also an only child, but
Yes.
practicing. And yes, the Croft brothers had an amusement park, and yes, they had Super Saturday. There is a convention coming up that you and I are going to go to, and they are going to have a reunion of Sid and Marty Krofft characters who thought
I
to be
brought these
there.
out too for people. This HR Puff and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and
I have a
our
great
siblings.
Sigmund the Sea Monster story that I can't tell on the air for Wednesday. Make sure I tell you off the air. It's good.
Yeah,
And but that cast will be there as well. Billy Barty was the sea monster. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Billy Barty is one of the most famous little people, probably of all time back in the day. And he was in Foul Play and all kinds of movies, and he fit into the costume. So he was. A lot of young people are watching and just going, "What the hell has happened?" You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah,
Sigmund. It was about these kids who went down by the beach and found themselves a sea monster, and they keep him in the little garage.
and what he does is when the parents come in, he just pretends he's a big pile of seaweed, and they go, "Oh, you crazy kids!" As soon as they parents leave, he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" So it's him. He's really goofy and silly, and he's got one tooth.
Mhm.
He's adorable.
He was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So for some people, we're bringing back memories. For other people, we're giving you some new ideas. And I see people giving their favorite shows, and I will let some people get their word in too. I'll move a little faster, but next for me, I'm going to go back further. I'll go to the 50s. The Honeymooners. Um,
Oh yes, another
the
great one.
Honeymooners is probably one of the greatest sitcoms of all time, if not really one of the inventors of that format. The show, for the most place, took place in the Cramden kitchen, and you didn't even really need to go anywhere else. They were able to deliver that show. Jackie Gleason was known for not rehearsing, and yet somehow you would watch that show and you believed them. They would sell these lines. And amazingly enough, this many years later, The Honeymooners still holds up for a show where these people don't have a TV, and they, although they get one in one episode, but they have an ice box, and even though some of the aspects are so dated, the common issues are still funny. Ed Norton, Art Carney was one of the funniest of all time. I was fortunate to meet Joyce Randolph and Alice Audrey Meadows. Joyce Randolph lived in Manhattan on Central Park West, was someone that you would regularly see. She lived to 99 years old. She just passed away recently. Most
Wow.
people didn't even know she was still alive. Lived on the same block as Tony Randall in Manhattan. So, Honeymooners, there's only so many of the classic episodes. I think it's 39. But after that, there's lost episodes, there's specials that he made for the Jackie Gleason show. And then there's a thing called the Color Honeymooners that is actually good. It's not amazing, but what happened was Jackie Gleason had a show based out of Miami where he recreated a lot of the stories. They were older. This is the 70s. They were older. They dealt with a little bit more timely issues. Like President Nixon might be mentioned or something. But it was having old friends back. They're only on DVD. But to
So
get to
was
see them,
was the Honeymooners influenced the Flintstones? Was the
yes,
Flintstones? I mean, that's pretty much sort of the same kind of story, right?
came out, it was a primetime TV show. People just don't realize it. Much like The Simpsons, it wasn't a
Hmm.
Saturday morning cartoon. It was a feature show, and they were going to sue the Honeymooners. Jackie Gleason, who owns the Honeymooners, was going to sue the Flintstones, and he was quoted as saying, and I paraphrase, "I don't want to be the guy to take off America's favorite like night cartoon show. You know, people really
Yeah,
loved the Honeymooners." And so he refrained. But yes, it's very influenced by the Honeymooners. I love the Flintstones
yeah.
as well. All right, so that's my third one. Over to you, Wednesday.
Looking at my stash here, I would say the next show pretty important to me would have to be What's Happening.
Hmm.
This was another excellent show, another one of my favorites. I couldn't wait to. I never knew when it was going to come on. Like when that one would come on, you'd hear that theme song. It was instant. It was even better when you heard the theme song. And that was another cool thing about shows was the theme songs meant something, and at least they did to me.
Me
And
too.
the better the theme song, or as long as there was a good theme song, it made the show, the anticipation for it even better. So when you heard that theme song kick in, you're like, yes, it's happening.
Wednesday,
What's happening?
when you watch your DVDs, I think I know the answer. Do you watch the opening credits every episode, or do you skip?
I always watch the opening credits. Yeah.
Me too. Every episode. There's no watching a TV show without hearing the theme song.
Yeah, and a lot of these shows back then, the theme was so important. They had intros and outros. So take for example, like Good Times. It's got the intro with the words, and then the outro is just sort of like the humming, the soulful.
Jefferson's had that as well.
Yeah, so they were a big deal, and I still to this day use TV sitcoms, commercial jingles from the 70s and 80s, and get ideas for riffs and stuff out of them. There's so many good like jingles and stuff. But what's happening was something that I don't know I related to, even though they were older than me when I was watching it. And at the time, I thought this show was new. I didn't realize it was in syndication because this was like late 70s, 77,
Mhm.
something like that. But when I was watching it, it had to be like 81, 82, or something like that.
Me too. Yeah.
Um, but for some reason, I don't know why, the lady that played Raj's mom, is her name Mabel
Maybe
Thompson? Is that
King.
her? Is okay. She has always, and to this day, reminds me of my mom.
Hmm.
My mom is like a country. My mom, before she passed, she used to say this all the time. She was convinced she was a black lady in her future, in her past life. And I was like, well, you remind me of the lady off of Good Time, or off of What's Happening. And she was also the mom on The Jerk, which is my other favorite movie with
Oh
Steve
yeah.
Martin. And that lady's always reminded me of my mom for some reason. It's a weird thing. Um, but I don't know. That show was just something that always came on when I was a kid. Always made me happy. The topics weren't too difficult. One of my favorites was when Rerun gets suckered into bootlegging the Doobie Brothers concert, and he gets caught in the middle of it with the tape recorder falling out of his trench coat.
It's
And
the best. It's the best episode. It's a two-part episode. I met
yes,
Jeff Skunk Baxter, who was in the Doobie Brothers at the time, and I had to mention it to him. A friend of mine told me, Michelle, I got tickets for the Doobie Brothers. You'll be like in the second row. And I told Michelle, I got to get my tape recorder. She had
that'd
no
be
idea.
yeah,
Michelle has gotten an educate. You think this show is pop culture? She hears it, every day. But
yeah.
we had a good time, and I just kept saying, "Which doobie you be?" Which is when because he calls the hotel and he goes, "I need to speak to one of the Doobie Brothers," and that episode is incredible. Boy, did it bring a shine a light on the problems of bootlegging with
Oh
the tape.
yeah, yeah. That was a big deal.
Well, and he got caught because the music was so powerful that he had to get up and do the rerun dance, and then his tape recorder hit the floor. I'll tell a quick story about Mabel King. I wasn't going to tell any of these stories, but I think people are enjoying it. Mabel King was in the Hollywood Motion Picture Retirement Home, which is where a lot of celebrities, their pension, their benefits for being in the union, cover them to live when they need someone to take care of them. And all of your favorite stars, for the most part, who weren't multimillionaires, end up there. Johnny Weissmuller, who used to play Tarzan, had dementia, and at the end of his life was known to run through the halls thinking he was Tarzan. It sounds like an incredible party, but Mabel King lost one of her legs, might have lost both of them, to be honest. And she was in that home. My friends wanted to meet her, and they snuck into the motion picture home when the nurses weren't looking, and they went in and they have pictures and autographs. They did a meet and greet with a legless mama from What's Happening. I wish I was
Wow,
there. Hmm.
crazy. I'm gonna
Um,
tell Mama.
yeah, I'm
Oh,
gonna tell mama.
I'm
Hmm.
gonna tell Mama. Dee was another great part of that show. Her and Roger fighting, and just she was the best bratty sister. Her sarcasm. She was almost level with Wednesday Adams with her sarcasm.
Hmm. It's interesting is that you and I both again around the same age, but also in case people didn't know, we're white. And some of our favorite shows, though, happen
Yeah,
to be African American sitcoms. I think that some of them were the best. I went to a
yeah,
school in New York City that was probably Well, it was 85% what would be considered minority. The rest would be your whites and your Asian, maybe. But anyway, but I was a different upbringing. But so I learned about Run DMC and LL Cool J and Salt and Pepper and those type of things from going to school. But also that I was watching the same sitcoms as everybody else, and there wasn't really a racial barrier. They were funny to everybody. All right, so
Now,
let's see. Yeah, and so anyway, that was a good one. I've been fortunate to meet almost all the cast members. That same convention that we're going to, Dwayne, hey, and Raj will be there. So that is exciting. Okay, I'll give a couple more of these, and then we'll let the audience talk, and then we'll get the hell out of here. Next one I picked was Three's Company. Uh,
yes.
Another one that I just don't think I could watch it anytime and enjoy it, even though I know what's going to happen in almost every episode. But a subject that was ahead of its time, obviously a little bit risque. I don't think I even understood half of the jokes until I
No.
got older. Hold on, I got to plug something in. What happened? You talk while I plug.
Yeah, I didn't understand that show. Like you said earlier, there's a lot of shows watching that my parents were watching, and I love the television. I wanted to watch every single show, and I probably gave every show a shot. But there were certain shows that were just a little too adult for me. MASH was just, I didn't like it. Barney Miller, I liked it later, but I didn't. It was a little too adult for me.
Same.
And the same thing with this. So like I like Three's Company because John Ritter was funny. Um, but I didn't really understand what was going on. I didn't realize the situation that he was in. And when I watch that show now, I'm like, damn, John Ritter.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with everything you said about that. Barney Miller, I discovered again as an adult, and I love it. It's really funny, but
Yeah.
it's cutting humor too, and definitely for adult. A lot of jokes and dealing with things that you wouldn't have expected. But I love it. My father watched it and it would be on the background. Mash, my grandparents watched, and I just didn't get it. I don't get Mash. I sometimes threaten to try watching it and see if now I'll like it. Have you ever tried to revisit it?
Someone explained, I think it was someone, my dad explained to me, we were talking about MASH, and I was telling him I just never liked it. My dad's a Vietnam vet, and I didn't even know that MASH wasn't about Vietnam. It's the Korean War, which I didn't
Right.
know. That's how much I didn't know about it. But I think as a kid, it freaked me out because I used to see Jamie Farr. Was that his name? And he
Yep.
was always like in a dress. And I was like, why is this guy always in a dress? That's weird. That's creepy. And I never understood his role in the show because I never watched it. And my dad explained to me that he was always trying to get thrown out of the army. And that's why he was always dressed up. Like I guess it would be a Section 8 that could be thrown
Hmm.
out, and he was always wearing that. And he thought if he did that, I guess that's how they would throw him out of the army. So I
Well,
just misunderstood. I just thought he was like the Boy George of the army doctors.
he may have inspired you because later you wore a dress yourself. There is a
Yes.
there is a hike in Los Angeles that you can hike to the actual site of MASH, where it was filmed, and there's a little truck there and stuff to kind of mark the spot. I've thought about doing it. Thought it might make a good.
I
Uh,
did not realize that. I was going to tell you, my friend visited Burbank when I first moved here and saw the mountains here behind the house and went, "Oh my God, the Mash Mountains." And I guess is that the mountains they filmed there?
the mountains. So when you're at Universal Studios and you look
Mhm.
over, you see the mountains. That
Yeah.
is the backdrop for MASH. There wasn't as much building
No.
at the time.
So I've been
And
calling these the Mash Mountains and didn't realize that they are actually the
you were
Mash
right.
Mountain.
You were
Wow.
right.
It's pretty
And
cool.
uh, uh, Drizzler, I see your questions, and they're stupid.
Let's call him Sizzler. Sizzler.
Yes. Wednesday's renaming you.
Yeah,
So
you're Sizzler now.
you're going
That's
to
a
be.
great restaurant if you don't know. I love the Sizzler. That was the most famous place or the most fancy place I ate at till I tried like TGI Fridays when I became a teenager, a much later teenager.
Uh, Stevie Rochelle said that some of MASH was filmed outside the 101 near Agora Hills, wasn't it? I think that's where the hike is, the MASH hike. It takes about a mile and a half to get there. And maybe we should do it. It might be a good.
I love to go hiking. Let's go hike. Let's go hike up Mash Mountain. Maybe we can be inspired to watch that show. It
Yeah,
has to be good. It has to be good.
you make a good point. It has to
Yeah.
be. I mean, how could we be the only ones who? And I'm sure a lot of young people didn't get it. Maybe we watch it now. That's the great thing about missing a show like that. It's totally fresh to us. We can sit down and binge watch MASH. I had a friend, and she was watching Cheers. I think when
Uh,
I met her, she was like 23 or something, and she was really big on pop culture and definitely took notes. I inspired her to watch a lot of things, Rocky movies, and but she
is
said
this
she
your
was going to
friend
do
that we met at the horror convention? Was
yes,
watching all the.
My friend
Okay,
Rachel.
yeah,
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 she went with us to all these. She liked all of the horror stuff. She stayed in the car for Benson. She wasn't quite ready for that yet. Um,
yeah.
but that's an acquired taste. But so she was watching Cheers, binge watching it, and then she got so upset and called me to tell me that the coach died. And shit, this happened 40 years ago. you know, and but she was so affected by the show. And
Yeah,
then, well, how did Woody Harrelson get in here?
yeah. I've been saying it on your show a couple times. That Pluto channel is awesome when it comes to like all the channels they have. Like there's a classic channel with like they got Cheers playing nonstop, Andy Griffith, Adam's Family. Uh, if they get an HR Puff and Stuff channel going on there with that, I'm gonna just be like, just yes, master.
Pluto is great. I do recommend it. There's a Love Boat channel. And okay, Stevie Rochelle did the research for us.
All right.
Malibu Creek State Park is proud to be home to the outdoor set of television's legendary program MASH. The site still draws visitors from all over the world decades after the show left there. Well, Stevie, why don't you go with us? Stevie is a fit guy.
Yeah,
And how many people would like to watch a video of me, Stevie, and Wednesday hiking to MASH Mountain?
let's do it.
Yeah, I think we should do it. I'm going to wear a sundress though because it gets very hot.
All
Uh,
right.
but anyway, okay.
I'm gonna
So
dress like Jamie Farr, and you dress like Jamie Farr from MASH. I'll dress like Jamie Farr from Cannonball Run, and
mhm.
we'll be far out.
Cannonball Run, another great one, directed by Hal Niederman, who directed the movie Rad that I saw the other day from 1986. He liked big stunt movies, Smokey and the Bandit. The guy was a stunt man, but
Oh, that was Hal Needham. He did Smokey and the
yeah, Hal
Bandit.
Needham.
He did Smokey and the Bandit. He did Stroker Ace, which is another great Burt
Mhm.
Reynolds movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
called
did Megaforce too, which I found out.
that I didn't realize, but it does
Yeah,
make
apparently he had a big falling out with them, and they made it goofy, and he wanted to make it more tough. And you seen how that came out.
yes,
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, everyone wants to see us go to the Mash Mountains, and so I think why not? I got to
yeah,
get in
and
shape.
of course in dresses.
Yeah, I got to get in shape anyway. We'll see if Stevie's going with us, but I think he would. I think Stevie's in the valley, but he could come over for a little while.
Oh, by the way, in Burbank, I saw last Friday night. The store was finally open. There's a VHS video rental store. I believe it's called Be Kind Video, and you can go in and rent DVDs and VHS the way you used to. And I walked in, and I couldn't believe. I'm like, I couldn't understand. It was like walking into this room, but somebody just had a bunch of DVDs on the walls, and it's an actual place where you can rent movies, and they had everything, like everything that we're talking about, all the movies you and I talk about. It was just within. Just looking, there was a stack. I saw like Swamp Thing, I saw Altered States, just every movie there. I was like, I would watch all of these. They had a Beastmaster poster on the wall. Um, And yeah, so there's a rental place here in Burbank. So
And you
Burbank
rent a
is
VCR?
um actually I don't know. I think you probably could rent a
I bet
VCR
you
here.
they do, or they sell
So
them, or they
yeah,
sell them cheap. I would guess that the novelty of the place is that they probably sell candy and some kind of merchandising and other things like that because how many people are renting, but then there's probably people who are having the novelty of it, who are getting into it to kind of try to recreate a vibe. But it sounds fun.
it's
It
cool.
sounds like
Like I kind of went in quickly. I was there. We had some family in town. We stopped there and walked in, so I didn't have enough time to totally
investigate.
like, yeah, I didn't want to ask I wanted to just ask the guy behind the counter, like, what is this place? What's happening here? But it was really cool though, and like there was a ton of movies, and there was a ton of VHS that he had there for sale. They had laser disc for sale. There was a RoboCop laser disc. On this, there was so much stuff there. I'm like, if I don't leave, I'm going to spending some money here and
You're
renting a
going to
bunch
check
of
it out.
stuff that I probably already have.
Thank you, Jay Lee Smith, for the super sticker. Much appreciated. Uh, I'll give some honorable mention because I can't keep Wednesday here forever. Yeah, I agree that Taxi was a great show.
Hmm.
Uh, somewhat so many great shows. I made a quick list of the hour shows when we were talking. These are things
Yes.
that I liked when I was a kid. The A Team,
Oh yeah. Oh, that first 2 hour long NBC special that came out was brilliant, and it was a different face in that. It wasn't the same face man. Or Dirk Benedict was not in the original one.
right? That's right.
Yep.
It took a minute to get it right, but A Team, it got sillier and sillier as time went on, but I stayed with it. Battlestar Galactica, that's another one.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. I almost grabbed that box set. The box set of that's just cool because the Klingon still has the you turn it.
Cyclone,
It's got
the
yeah.
Cyclone, yeah, I have one
Cyclone.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think we're the only two people who have that box set and are proud
It's
to,
cool.
to
Yeah.
have it. Yeah, and yet somehow women still speak to us. But the Battlestar Galactica, I saw the movie first in the theater. It was a bad Star Wars basically, and it came out in the theater, and then they cut it up into TV shows. With that goes uh, Buck Rogers in the 25th century. Uh,
I had it ready.
yeah, there it is. That's another great set. The slipcase is really
Oh,
cool.
this box set is amazing. This is
Yeah,
one of my look at that.
I have it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I've taken this on tour too many times, but yeah, this is such a cool show. Um, Still one of my favorites.
Michelle asked me to go to this thing called the Barristers Ball. I think it's a legal party. It's like a prom in law school. She
Okay.
was, she was like a chaperone or something. I don't really know. I know I had to dress up a little bit, and one of the things that Michelle knows how to speak my language. To go, you start at her school. Well, her school is where they filmed the Love in an Elevator video and the shopping department store in Christmas Vacation. So of course you got me there. But then you go to this hotel downtown. I can't remember the name of it right now. They filmed the movie True Lies there. So while I'm at
Okay.
her school function, I'm documenting. I'm making content. I found out that that's where they filmed Buck Rogers. The whole Cloud City or Sky City is these hotels in downtown Los Angeles, and it looks exactly
Wow.
the same. We might have to see
I
that.
was I was watching a thing of what happened with Buck Rogers, and I was watching like some behind the scenes thing, and I think on the second season they got rid of a lot of stuff. Someone was explaining all the stuff they got rid of, and they tried to change it. And I guess is it Gil Gerard? He had put on a lot of weight, and all the wardrobe people couldn't fit him into his outfit, and they had like a nickname for him, like Chubby something, and like a lot of basically they were talking about how season two, how great the first season was, and how these writers came in and changed it, and just it went down. And once I saw that, and you watch the second season, you'll be like, okay, you can see
It's
where it
hard to
kind of
stay with it. It's funny, but it's hard to stay with. They also try to get rid of Mel Blanc, who was the voice of Tweaky, and use
Yeah,
some other voice that was like ridiculous. Felix Sela, who played Cousin It, lived in Las Vegas, passed away recently. He was inside that costume. Uh, of course, I put down the $6 Million Man. Uh, yep, see, look at that.
hey, ready to go too.
Yeah,
Just
that.
that, just the sound that he makes when he jumps. If I could just have that built into everyday activity when I move, how cool would that be?
He fought and he fought Andre the Giant as Bigfoot. So I mean,
Yeah,
uh, he great. Lee Majors great. Fall Guy was great too. I had a Fall Guy lunchbox when I was in school.
I got a Fall Guy lunchbox over here somewhere.
Mhm.
Yep,
Yes,
yep.
it's amazing the ridiculous things that we have in common. I did have Quincy on my honorable mention list. It was a little
Mhm.
bit more adult, but Oscar Madison as a coroner, what could go wrong?
Yeah,
Um,
I need to rewatch Quincy. I think that's on Pluto too. I see
I think you would.
Quincy
I
on.
think you'll like it. There's a
Wasn't
punk rock
Quincy's
episode.
wasn't Quincy's also a restaurant?
Well, he hung. I don't think so. He went to hang out at a restaurant.
No,
Well,
I'm
I mean,
saying there a chain restaurant called like
oh,
Quincy's that were like Denny's late nights. I'm pretty sure. I know they were in North Carolina because I believe my friend worked at a Quincy's.
yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see if
Somebody
somebody
look
else.
that up. See if there's a Quincy's. If Quincy's was like a I believe it was like a late night sort of Denny's IHOP sort of deal. I don't think nothing to do with Quincy the show, but
Right? No, no, separate.
yeah.
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 Quincy was based off of a real life forensic expert, really famous one. Maybe Henry
Uh,
Lee or one of those guys.
Someone says TJ Hooker. I watched a great TJ Hooker roof fight the other day. Oh, it was intense. He beating this guy up, and then the guy let him stop for just a minute to have him go, "Why did you do this?" And he goes, "Why do you want to know?" And then, "Let me tell you why." Like it was just the perfect
Hmm.
dumb fight. It was great.
T.J. Hooker, for the younger people watching, had nothing to do with prostitution. Uh,
I
uh,
know. Sadly,
it had something to do with a hairpiece. But T.J. Hooker is still fresh to me. I watch them every now and then. It's fresh because I wasn't that crazy about it. But
yeah.
William Shatner, Adrian Zemed of Grease 2,
Mm-hmm.
and I interviewed him here at an event in Las Vegas, and all I wanted to talk about was Grease 2. He was a good sport. And then
Heather Locklear.
Heather
Heather
Locklear. I
Locklear.
get it confused, right? Because Heather Thomas was on the
Fall
Fall Guy.
guy. Fall guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were two very important Heathers in our in our youth.
Somebody should put together the FMK game. You need a third Heather. I don't know who you would pick, but
The three Heathers from the Heathers movie, maybe. I don't
maybe
know.
Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tough one. Well, let's play Wednesday. If you had to, if you had to marry one, get
uh,
rid of one. Let's not use the other word because last night there was a little controversy when Johnny Monaco used the K
no,
word, and
no.
I appealed and won, but and then the other one you would just so it's relations, marry, get rid of. The choices are Heather Locklear, Heather
uh,
Thomas, and
or
Winona Ryder. Let's point out Winona
well, she
Ryder is
wasn't actually a Heather. She wanted to kill the Heathers, so
oh,
she
so
wanted. So maybe we'll put all three of the Heathers together.
I
Whoever
can't
they.
remember what they look like though.
One of the Heathers was the girlfriend on just one of the guys I noticed the other day when I was watching it. She was dating um, the Karate Kid guy. She leaves him at the end because she gets sick of his shit from being a bully, and I think she falls in love with. I think that's why what's her face has to show her boobs. So yeah, I don't know, but
Hold on, I'm looking. I'm looking. Oh, how about let's pick some because I can't marry three women.
yeah.
That's a lot. What about Heather Graham, Roller Girl?
No, she was fun.
Okay, let's put
Uh,
her. All right, so here's your
uh,
choices: Heather Locklear, uh, who is let's get an idea of how old she is, just to for the record.
I'm looking at
Heather
a picture
Locklear.
right here because she's on my Return of Swamp Thing poster. So she's looking pretty good right here. She's got those 80s bangs.
Mhm.
She's still probably in love with Tommy Lee at this photo I'm looking at.
Or Richie Sambora.
Yes,
She
it's
is
true.
62 years young.
Oh wow, she's younger than I thought. I saw a photo of her the other day from the backside. Um,
Naturally.
yes, I don't know. I would say.
Hold on. Heather Thomas
Mhm.
is 66 years young. And Heather Graham, who was going to be the youngest, obviously.
She's probably 50.
Heather Graham was born in 1970. She is 54. Even that sounds old to me. But all
Wow.
right. Do you know what you're going to do? Now, remember, you're going to marry, have
Um,
relations, or get rid of.
for some reason, Heather Locklear just looks like she would be a total nightmare, like to deal with. So you wouldn't want to marry her.
Mm-mm.
You'd probably want to kill her.
Oh, Wednesday. What happened to the explanation?
So I don't know. She just looks like she'd be difficult.
Are you
She's
folks
kind
at
of.
home watching? I just explained to Wednesday, don't use the K word.
Oh, what I'm just saying. Well, kill her with kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make it sound better?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I would have to. I would have to get rid of her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Mary would probably have to be Heather Thomas. I don't know why, because I would have to go with Roller Girl for the other one because she was Roller Girl and that was kind of her thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Stevie
but
Rochelle knows how to play the game. K stands for karate chop.
Karate Chop. Sorry, yes, you get
Although I don't
flagged
think
for. Okay, all right.
that might be frowned upon too. Okay, this is a tough one for me because I'm a fame whore. You could say that. I
Mhm.
like who's the most famous, and I'll tell you, Ron Jeremy told me a long time ago. We played this game often. Me and Ron played this game a lot. It was very funny, and sometimes he would pick guys too, just to be funny. But it was great. Anyway, he once told Elizabeth Taylor was in the game, and I go, no way, and he goes, I would do it. I go, you would do Elizabeth Taylor, and he goes, I close my eyes, and she'd be Cleopatra all over again. So
Oh
I try
wow.
to use the words that he taught me. But Jason pointing out my favorite quote: "Famous people are better than normal people." That is the truth. I think I think I'm going to marry Heather Graham. She's a
Okay.
little bit younger. She's can roller skate.
Yeah.
Hopefully, she can cook a little bit, maybe clean around the house. And then
He was in Austin Powers. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I'm gonna do the opposite of you. I think
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with Heather Locklear. I have seen Heather Thomas in person, and she does look nice. I think because I was a bigger fan of Heather Locklear growing up. I think she was more my idol. Do I want to follow Richie Sambora and Tommy Lee? Not necessarily, but
Yeah.
it's a dirty job. Someone's got to do it. Anyway, everyone's now. We've spawned a crazy conversation. People are just
Yeah, I'm trying to catch up with what's going on here. I don't even know what's happening here. So,
I feel like this has been a great conversation. I feel like those of you who are watching were fortunate to hear Wednesday and I tell you about
yes.
shows we grew up with. I'd like to see some people who are watching, maybe some of the younger people, come back and let us know which one of these shows or a few of
It's
these shows.
another honorable mention, WKRP. I set it out. It's another great show.
Someone mentioned it. It is great. It's hard to you won't ever find it intact. The music on that DVD is a little different, but the stories are still great. The Christmas episode where everyone brings Lonnie Anderson a Christmas tree is very funny.
I
And the
have both
one,
versions. I have the version where they took the music out, and I have the version that has the original music on it.
that's the one you want. That's great. It's
I
very
have that's in
fun.
the box. That's in the. This is the one I take on tour with me. This is the beat up travel version. My good version is over there. But yeah, there is a huge difference when they take that music out.
Yes.
Another great episode. I think it might be episode 3 or 4, where they have to cater to the rock band Scum of the Earth,
I
and they
forgot
come
that one.
and they come into the studio, and it's pretty good. Like they are punks. They are
Mhm.
pretentious punks. Like it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and of course the episode Thanksgiving.
The turkeys,
Turkeys.
the turkey drop was another. You can get T-shirts of that. I found.
I've seen them. I might want
Yeah.
to get one for Thanksgiving. Uh, okay, and all right, everyone's having a good time. Someone asked about Soap. For me, Soap was one of those adult shows that I didn't completely get. Billy Crystal was one of the first gay characters on television. The character he portrayed,
Hmm.
and other, I think he was, and then other adult sort of themes. It did spawn off Benson, though.
It did. It did. And I think the convention we're talking about going to, the Burbank show, isn't it a soap reunion?
I believe they are working on a Soap reunion. Yeah.
Is I don't know her name, but I know her from Who's the Boss, Mona. She can't still be alive, is she? Because she
No,
was in Soap. She was originally.
Catherine Hellman has passed. Yeah.
I was going to say because she already looked. There's no way she was still around. But
She's Mona to me too. Yeah.
Mona, yeah, always would be Mona to me.
Laverne and Shirley, honorable mention. Gary Marshall sitcom. Lenny and the Squig Tones were great. Really funny stuff in that as well.
Hmm.
Uh,
I brought
I,
GI Joe from my for people always asking. This cartoon was another one of my favorites. Another one of my
G.I.
to go.
Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also found this too. The old Spider-Man was one of the first things I watched too. The
I own, I own that as well.
Spider-Man. Yeah, this was some great stuff too.
Ramones covered
Spider-Man
that.
just he just literally talks to himself. Oh, if I could just go over here, I could convince the Riddler. You know,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think the Riddler was hanging out with them, but I do get the
Well,
point.
you know,
You're crossing streams.
you cross the streams. I realized I said the Riddler. I'm like, why am I saying the Riddler?
Batman, of
The
course.
Rhino. How about that?
Batman 1966. Wednesday, I want to take the Warner Brothers tour. I've wanted to take it for quite some time. You would be perfect to go do that with me.
Let's go
We
do
should,
that because I want to go there to that. There's the Batman stuff. There's the Friends coffee thing, which I'm a huge Friends fan. Some people go, "How can you say that?" And
I liked it.
I think Friends is great. That's one of the last great TV shows, in my opinion.
On the Warner Brothers tour, you get to see the fountain from Friends, which was rescued from the lot that they tore down in Burbank. You get to
Hmm.
see that. You get to see where the Mogwai was purchased in Gremlins. You
No way.
right around the corner from that, you get to see the "Fuck Yo Mama" block from National Lampoon's Vacation. Roll them up. That's there as well. It's a St. Louis street, but it's on the Warner lot. And then also the big one to me is you go to Gotham City and you see the City Hall or whatever it was called.
I just realized this is one of my fun games I try to put together and connect stories. So you said the Mogwai, the guy that played the dad on Gremlins,
Hoyt Axton.
he is on an episode of WKRP, and he's Lonnie Anderson's long lost husband. And he's a country guy, and he comes on the show, and he has like a hit song that like he plays on the show. That's pretty cool, actually. I can't remember what it is right now, but I just realized that
He's
guy.
on
Yep, yeah.
another show that's in your collection. He's on Different Strokes, and he's married to maybe he's the ex husband of Dixie Carter, who marries Mr. Drummond.
Yes,
He's Sam's dad.
Sam's
Sam's
dad.
dad. Danny Cooksey. Sam was also in a band called Bad for Good, if you remember
Mhm.
that.
I'll show you this right here. I got this.
Oh, wow.
Autograph Danny Cooksey here on my wall just to show I ain't what you talking about, Willis?
That's so great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lest
Yes.
anyone think we just pretend that we're nuts with this stuff. Love it.
Yeah, I went to a convention I don't know 4 or 5 years ago just to meet Danny Cooksey and
I went to a convention and with Ron Jeremy, it was in Burbank and we met Danny Cooksey. It might have been the same show.
that had to be the same one. Yeah.
Yeah. He was sitting with Robert Patrick. He was kind of and Furlong was a Terminator kind of thing.
Yeah, was D. Snyder at that one too?
That I don't think.
Okay, maybe I get this confused, but yeah, I definitely went to that one, and yeah, I talked to him briefly about it, but I was like wearing some sort of mask. I was in like some sort of costume, and I'm trying to have a conversation. Hey, do you remember when you were talking to Gary Coleman? That was cool. He's like, yeah, sign this, get the fuck out of here. So
Um, Hoyt Axton. People are mentioning his songs. Hoyt Axton wrote "Blue Suede Shoes." I'm almost positive. I could be wrong, but I
the
think he
song he
wrote it.
did on the WKRP song show was a really cool song, and I feel like I heard it on the radio or something. Like it was
Never
it
been
was,
to
it was almost
Spain.
there. What's that?
Some people are saying never been to Spain. Other people are saying jealous man. I don't know.
I don't know.
Would you guys go to horror nights at Universal? I go all the time. Wednesday's a little concerned about crowds, which I understand. It could be stressful. I had times in my life when I could not do that. Now I'm full in. I get a little
Yeah.
cranky, but I do my best. It's worth it if you buy one of these kind of passes where you get this and that, and you can sort of avoid a little bit of it. Also, better to go early in the season or actually on Halloween. Michelle and I went on Halloween. You think, oh no, it'd be crazy. No, it was pretty quiet. People had other things to do. It was also a weeknight. But I think Wednesday would go,
I'd give it
depending
another
on the.
shot. Yeah,
Say
I'd give
again?
it another shot. I would give it another shot. I just went. I was in a bad mood, and somebody squirted me in the face with a water gun, and I was ready to beat this dude up, and I had to go home. So it was,
They do a
I was
lot of.
cranky. Yeah.
There's a lot of that in The Exorcist. They throw holy water in your face. There's a lot of that type of behavior. It depends on the licensing for me for horror nights.
Mhm.
I want to see. Michael Myers should always be there. Jason and Freddy should always be. I want I want that. They give you too
Yeah.
much new stuff. When they give me nope, that's when I say nope.
Yeah.
But
That's what I'm
uh,
saying.
okay, hold
Yeah, I
on.
believe
Steve
that
Rochelle
Hoyt
has a
acts.
question.
Yeah, I think in the comments here, I think that Hoyt song is called "Jealous Man."
That's
Jealous
what I was
man, I'm a
thinking.
jealous man, or something. It was very Johnny Cash ish. But yeah, I need to watch that again.
To answer Stevie's question, I never did get to meet Red Fox. He passed before I was already on the West Coast. I did make the point that he lives a stone's throw. I pass it every day. Someone comes to my house, they have to pass Red Fox's house. I roll the
Stevie,
window down and I shake my fist and I say, "You big dummy," every single time. And his final resting place right there too. I met Grady. I met Donna. I
that's
met
cool.
Lamont. I met Smitty and Hoppy, the cops, but I did not. I met. Here's a crazy one. He was also Ned the Wino. I met Woodrow, who married on Esther and later. These people are mostly are past, but I did not get
Wow.
to meet Red Fox.
I
I
think
hear all that.
I think Stevie told me a while ago, or when he first moved to LA, he had a moving job, and I think he told me Stevie, you can confirm this. Did you not move Rodney Dangerfield? I thought
That
that was so
sounds,
cool.
that sounds
It
familiar.
had
Let's
it
see
had
what
to be
Stevie
Stevie
said.
that told me that. Is that I believe he told me that.
I've heard the story. So I think it was him. Yes, he wrote that. And Kendall the metalhead has been very anxious for you to say hello to her or something. And sometimes I can't fit that in the conversation. I'm sure he would do it, but I got to find what the hell you wanted him to say.
What am I
Uh,
saying? All right.
it wasn't that crazy. I think she wanted you to say hi, Kendall. I think.
Hello, Kendall. Hi, Kendall.
There you
Okay.
go. I mean, you got a free cameo right there.
All right.
All right. Okay, here it is. Stevie Rochelle. I actually gave him his quote. He came into my office and sat across from me. I did not actually move his stuff, but yes, I booked the move.
Okay.
How great!
That's cool.
How great! Uh, I could not stop thinking of Caddyshack the entire time he was in my office. Yeah. Um, a lot
He's
of
so
people that
good,
I've
man.
come in contact with who were fortunate to meet him or know him. Ron, again, also knew him. at the end of Rodney's life, he would wear a bathrobe and sit around, and he was known to sit on the couch with his balls hanging out. He would like uncross and cross his legs. Some people thought he liked the idea that he made people uncomfortable. That it was actually part of his shtick. Other people thought he just didn't know where he was. Easy Money, great movie from
Oh no,
Japan
so
Island.
good. People don't realize that that's where Anthrax "I'm the Man" lyrics come from. That.
That's a great little tidbit. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. This is a funny. Jason loves the conventions too. He say you book a cameo, stars are free, planets are extra. That's because when Ace Frehley does an autograph event, if you would like him to draw stars and planets, there's an extra charge for stars and planets. And the stars and planets, I mean, I could probably do it for you right now.
Oh,
It's not it's
yeah.
not much. He kind of hold on. This is not an official forgery, but I mean, he's had more time to think about it than me. But this is what he does basically
Oh wow.
for an extra $25. While
Huh.
I'm making fun of it, in my mind, I would probably pay him to do it.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. He's pretty cool.
Hmm. Stars and planets. Okay. Uh, I think the answer is no on this, but I'll find out. Will Wednesday do meet and greets for Sick New World?
I don't know if the bands are doing that, if that's part of if they have like a meet and greet tent. Like I can't just say I'm going to go out and meet people. Like I would have to be like an organized thing. So um, they haven't even told us our time slot yet. So I don't know. But I don't know if that was a thing they did last year. I imagine if it's available, they'll ask us to do it. So I wouldn't think, unless it's just so hot I can't deal with it. I don't know why I would say no to it. So probably.
And then for the rest of his shows, they're available at officialwednesday13.com. And
Mhm.
if it gets too hot, you can find Wednesday and I at the Kiss Museum because he wants to
Yes.
see the
I'm gonna go
spider
check
from
out
Helen.
the runaway spiders.
People think that half the stuff we're saying we're joking about. You know, like I think they think, yeah, yeah. But when you see the video of us with Stevie Rochelle at the top of Mount Mash Mountain, you'll
Yeah.
think it's related.
I would
Uh,
love to get a picture of me with those spiders like right at my neck, and I'm just like I'm just in that moment of I'm about to die from one of these runaway spiders.
mhm. Okay. A lot of people pointing out that Kendall did not even say thank you for her free cameo.
Oh,
She might have left. She might have hated. Is Steven
uh,
ever coming back to the whiskey? I don't know. Last time he said it would be the last time he would do it. I don't know. I don't think so, but you never know. Uh, Jim points out that Wednesday was very nice to the fans at the Rock Pile. No meet and greet charge, no nothing. Wednesday's nice to everybody. Oh, there,
I
Kendall's
do
back.
charge for meet and greets, but I also don't charge for people. Like I don't walk up to people and go, "Hey, will you sign this?" And go, "Well, break out that break out your PayPal, bro." I'm
Mhm.
not like that. It's just if you want to organize meet and greet where you don't have to worry about if you're going to meet me or not, you want to for sure buy the VIP. But I'm also you can meet me. I'm not untouchable to do that kind of stuff. So I still try to do that kind of stuff. I don't get to do it that often, but the rock pile there is always a cool place to do that.
Well, let me point out on the meet and greet thing
Hmm.
that touring is very expensive, and to meet every single person would take all day. I can tell you that I run Steven's meet and greet. There's not enough time to meet everybody. If you don't charge something, everyone will come to the meet and greet. It's great that people are fans, but so in the case of Wednesdays, you get things for your money. So you get a picture and you get it. He'll sign all your stuff, and you also get a poster. There's things that come with
Hmm.
Wednesday's meet and greet. So it is a necessity of touring now to do these type of things. He limits them. I'm not trying to sell it. I'm just telling where some people might understand. It's a reasonable price. You get a laminate of these things, and you get a minute to talk to the person you like. I have, and Wednesday and I go to conventions. Watch the video of us at the Halloween convention. We spent our day online, uh, we both know the guy who put the show on, and we both know tons of famous people, but we're not looking for some handout. We understand that there is a business that goes with this. So if you run into Wednesday somewhere, of course, come over and say hello. A lot of people did, and people brought their albums and things, which he signed. But these meet and greets, they are an important part of touring these days. Okay, let me, Jimbo, thank you so much for the super chat. Jason, if conditions were right, would you consider taking Stephen Pierce to New Zealand? Consider going anywhere. There has to be a good enough offer to do it. Maybe that's something for Rat, not the solo band. I don't know. I don't know how many more years something like Rat has. If they could manage to get some version, who knows? I would like to go and do some overseas shows. I'm also hooked on cruising now. I don't mean what the fellas do at night, but I mean going on these boats. I love it. I would go anywhere if I could get there on a cruise. I don't want to sit on a plane for 6 days, but I'll sit on a boat, no problem. So, and we got to get Wednesday on the Monsters of Rock cruise. So those of you who are watching this, go to the Monsters of Rock Facebook page, cruise, and tell them that you want to see Wednesday 13. They might be scared and see the makeup and think, oh my God, this is going to be heavy. Hardcore Superstar, which is going to be touring with Wednesday this year, they're on there. There's a lot of different bands that fit that. Murder Dolls definitely fit the glam, and if I have to be on the boat, Wednesday should too. So go tell them. And Stevie Rochelle's got some input with those guys too. He is a man of the people. Stevie Rochelle also reminds us that we should all know, if I can find it, he'll be at the Whiskey himself, Tough, at the Whiskey, Friday, August 23rd. If we're in town, we have to go and see Tough, named after one of my favorite movies, Tough Turf. Okay, let's see. Magenta. I can trust anyone who has sort of a goth name to have an intelligent thought and be a Wednesday fan. I met you after a show in Nottingham in April last year. I think of it every day, despite me still feeling bad for stopping you. Haha. The embarrassment eats me up daily, but I'm still very thankful. I don't think you have to be embarrassed. I bet you Wednesday appreciated it.
No, I know that walk you probably met me on. It's I've been playing that venue, and there's right next to the Rock City in Nottingham is a place called Rescue Rooms, just connected right to it. And you have to park your bus on the corner there. So there's always fans hanging out right there. So met a lot of fans there. I've also been bombarded. One time there was a group of kids that were bombing fans with water balloons on that parking structure there. That was pretty interesting one time too. So I had to get in the building quick.
Wednesday does have great merchandise. Go to his website, official Wednesday 13. I'm trying to get my stuff together. I'm inspired by Wednesday's merch. It's good stuff. Okay, Skylar's had enough. He's saying goodnight. And all right, Melanie, who's a channel member, thank you, has been to 3 of Wednesday's meet and greets. He's very nice. So I think all of that is cool. And all right. Can we ask how Wednesday does his singing voice? It's so different from his speaking voice. Good question.
I just do it. I don't know. It's almost like doing an impression, I guess. And I can do it in key with music, and I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. I mean, I don't know. I just do it. I'm not going to attempt to do my singing voice, but I don't know. I guess that's the best way to kind of explain it. It's almost like doing an impression, the way I would do the Cobra Commander's voice. I'm able to do it in a singing voice and sing in key, and over time I've gotten better at it.
Knowing Wednesday is great because Stevie Rochelle told me too. He goes, you got to see him live, because one second he'll be talking to you about G.I. Joe, and the next second he commands that stage, and you do. And it's a totally different person. I have not seen Wednesday live yet. I've missed it. So I'm going to come see you in Las Vegas, and I'm excited. I look forward to seeing it.
You know, it's so weird. Like, I did a live thing on my Patreon page earlier today, and I was
Mhm.
talking about the next show is Las Vegas, is Sick New World. I don't even know how many people are going to be there. I think what it's 100,000 people by the time the headliner's there, whatever. It's a ton of people, tons of bands, and I'm just not. I'm excited to play it, but I'm not as excited as I feel like I should be. Like festivals just don't do a lot for me. I don't know. I've done them in the past. They're kind of cool, but they're stressful for me. I think about them too much. I'm trying to get that all out of my head. I'm trying to have a good time with it, and I'm sure I will. But I'm just it's weird. Like I'm not like counting the days now. Like I think I would much rather go. Oh, if you were playing the House of Blues in Vegas, I'd be like, oh, really? That's much cooler for me.
Oh, I get it, and it's not the optimal place to see you, obviously, but it's close, so it works out.
Yeah,
So
it's just odd, and I think it's. I'm thinking about the fact it's probably going to be at noon. It's going to be in the sunlight. It's just like everything is out of our element.
mhm.
So I don't know, but I'm excited to do it. I'm sure it's going to be fun. I just wish I was a little more excited about it. Maybe I will get that way as it gets closer. But
Will asked, and a lot of people are saying it, has Wednesday been working out? You're looking lean.
yes, I just I keep moving. I don't know if I exercise. I go to the gym. I started going back to the gym this week, but I also have like a little home gym. I have a treadmill. I do over 20,000 steps a day. That's if I don't do 20,000 steps, I feel like a loser. So I always do 20,000 steps. Sometimes I do 30,000. One day last week I did over 45,000 steps. I just constantly move. I try to watch what I eat, and I don't know. I feel better about it. I like to feel good about myself, and I got myself back together, and yeah, I'm trying to keep it that way. So thanks for noticing.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I'm also fatter than I've ever been, but
Get you
let's
a
see.
Fitbit. I'm telling you, these things will. This thing, I'm obsessed with it, uh, I live off the information of it. If this thing shuts down, I don't know what I'm doing, but it tells me my calories. It tells me how much I've done. I don't know. It's cool. It makes you a little more responsible for your actions. And
Yeah,
it's also kind of like Escape from New York. I like to think if I don't do those steps, this is going to explode and I'm
okay.
going to die. Yeah.
Jason, are you ready for the Oyster Bake in San Antonio? It's the kickoff of Fiesta Weekend. I did. I researched this thing. We're going to go to the Fiesta Oyster Bake, and it's a charity thing to raise money for the school. I don't know how they do that. They pay the band very well, but yeah, we'll be there. I'm trying to figure out how far things are from where the Texas Chainsaw Massacre things are, so that Wednesday and I can go get that video done and that experience. So we'll take a look. That's Texas. I'm going to try to wrap this up. Do I like Crashing Wayward with Stacey Blades? I've never heard it. It's a band out of Vegas. Stacey Blades was in LA Guns. I see Stacey all the time. We get along. We were on a plane together not that long ago to Burbank, but I haven't heard the music yet. I would have to give it Stevie Rochelle says Wednesday is a killer singer, great lyricist, and a badass frontman. Hashtag facts. And that's a nice compliment from Stevie, who does not
Thank you.
pull punches.
Thank you, Stevie.
Um, okay. Some of these other questions, like when you can see Wednesday, all those things, official Wednesday13.com. Go to his Instagram and all those things. I'm thankful for Stevie hanging out with us today. I had a question for Stevie. I forgot what it was. I was going to text him, but uh, I'll figure it out later. But you go check out Metal Sludge and go see Tough. And what is this? No music, no life. Expecting Jason to reconcile SR and SB for us and change history of rock. I don't think I can do that. I think there's a better chance of me getting Sebastian back in Skid Row. But who knows? Crazier things can happen. Well, yes, I'm more prepared for the oyster bake than I was for the elk plus elk rib cook-off because none of us knew that the elk plus elk is actually a law firm. We thought they were roasting and burning elk, and we were off. But whatever, who cares? It was still funny. Mike
Weird.
Crawford, since you were talking about the Ace signature, I have Peter and Ace's signature on my Alive. It's a gatefold. Need Paul and Gene to complete it. Probably going to cost a mint to get those. 2, I don't think Gene is going to cost you as much as you think. Gene will next year be on a convention tour. No matter what he says, Gene will sign. It probably cost you about $100, maybe a little bit more, but worth it if you have the 2. Ace and Peter, not the healthiest 2 fellows in the world. Paul, you'd have a hard time right now. Maybe one day he'll do appearances like that. Right now, he likes to do his art show. If you want to buy a very expensive piece of art, maybe he would entertain your Kiss thing. Magenta, my mom has sent a message to you Wednesday via Patreon on my behalf. I probably should pre-read these things. What if this was something like, my mom says you can adopt me, Wednesday. She says sodomy is fine as long as you sign this contract. Anyway, I don't even know who. I apologize, Magenta. It was a birthday gift. I'm still awaiting access to your.
Okay, I'll check into that. Stand by.
Wednesday's going to take care of it. He's a very busy man. Cinderella _ At my meet and greet, Wednesday told me how he grew up in a Jehovah's Witness household, and my mom would hate the music and threw away my merch. He found it funny and told me to say hi to my mom. Yeah.
I thought you said I grew up in a Jehovah's
I
Witness.
thought so too.
I did not.
I was like, I didn't know that.
I did not do that.
Yeah.
But
okay. All right. And yeah. And thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. YT Johnson, you're an idiot as usual. He was an idiot when his name was Chris, but Wednesday's cat matches his hair. That's a good point.
It's true.
I would get Gene to sign my trick or treat poster. Sean Clark and I were talking about trying to get the guy from Flogging Molly to do convention signing trick or treat stuff, since he's the voice of Sammy Kerr.
Well, I saw that Mark Price, Skippy from Family Ties, is doing appearances now.
I saw it, which is good.
You could get him, Gene Simmons. You could probably get a couple of the cast people there. I don't know that the Flogging Molly guy's that important to it. I mean, it'd be a lot cooler if you had the actor.
Right?
You know, I mean, it would be. I don't know. I heard that guy for the longest time did not want any connection with Fastway or anything, and he was not proud of that. And then, but maybe he is now. I don't know.
Juan said something along the lines of that they asked him maybe to do some commentary or something, and he was interested. It didn't fit his schedule or something, but he was interested. Kendall Lynn says, I'm 13. I'm going to check out your merch so I can get some stuff. Very nice. Good age to get into the rock and roll music. Hold on. This guy. Some of these people. It's rare I ban somebody, but every now and then I have to. So that's the end of that one.
It happens.
I want to get the wrong person, but okay, good. Anyway, we talked about so much. There's probably a million more things that we can talk about. Wednesday, I'll tell you, I always look forward to the day when we can chat, but I never like to impose upon you or any of my friends to do this. I chose to sit here all the time. But Wednesday is always nice enough to come here and hang out with you guys, and you can support him by going to see his shows or buying something off official Wednesday13.com. Unlike Johnny, Wednesday does not send me a bill at the end of this appearance. I don't get any ideas.
So I was watching one of your stories and I saw you guys at Baggage Claim, and that there really is a Chips Enough suitcase.
There is. Johnny
so
is in the.
I was thinking that I need a Frank Drebin or a Airplane, something, the Jive guys, or something on a luggage. Like, I feel like I need this. So tell Johnny I need to put an order in. But
yes,
how cool that a Ted Stryker suitcase. That for me, that's, I'm willing to pay the big bucks. So let me know.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. It would be cool. Anyway, we'll do some different things. I was going to do soon. I was going to have like a movie night where we can all watch movies together. a lot of other YouTubers have done this. I didn't invent it, and we'll sit around and have a pajama party, eat popcorn. I was thinking the first movie would be The Toxic Avenger, uh, because it's a movie I know a lot about and share some
Hmm.
trivia, and I've done it before. Lloyd Kaufman and myself did uh, a live history of the movie. I knew more about it than he did. I also studied right before we did it. For him, it's been
Yeah.
40 years. But I think it would be fun for us all to hang out and do those type of things. I think that the channel is successful because it's very non pretentious. Wednesday and I are sitting here telling you about TV shows and toys and just hanging out. And you can tell that Wednesday's here and Johnny and Matt and everyone else, Sean, because they want to be, because it's fun and it's nice to spread the word about things that we love, but also to spread the word about their own projects. And who knows, Sean and I are talking about uh, uh, performing.
Yeah.
Me, Wednesday, Sean, and we'll see who else we can get involved. Maybe playing at some of these horror conventions, maybe playing at this upcoming show in Arizona. What a fun weekend for me to get to be with Wednesday and Sean and Stephen Piercy and Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, not the kind of thing that you say every day. All right, let me wrap
Yeah.
these up. Funko collection. Yeah, I have thousands of them. It's ridiculous. They're everywhere. I have a $500 Ozzy Osbourne Funko. I should probably get him to sign it while I can. Everybody loves
Hey,
Wednesdays.
Ozzy was in Trick or Treat. You could get him to sign that.
That is right.
There
Yeah,
you go.
I meant to say it before. Yeah, that is true. The Lloyd interview is. I have one interview on YouTube, and then there's a thing coming soon. Lloyd and I went out and did some appearances, and that's coming soon. And all right, I better go find some dinner. Wow, we talked for 2 hours and 11 minutes. We do need a Wednesday 13 Funko Pop. I agree. Or a reaction figure. Do you have one of those
Oh,
yet?
reaction figure. That's those are my favorite. That's what's over my shoulder right there. All those guys. Those are my favorites.
I
Someone
like.
made a. I have a Wednesday 13 custom. Someone made of me over there somewhere.
Yeah, that's a common thing. Thank you, Angie. So, all right, thank you everybody for watching, and hopefully Wednesday will come back again. I don't think he's leaving. Kendall Lynn is off to buy some Wednesday merch. There's cool stuff, and thank you to Mandy. Thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you everybody for the super chats. Kira, thank you so much, and we'll see you all again very soon.
Yeah. Happy
Good night.
Wednesday.